scope. The reason why we are confined to these ghettos and slums is because we have been made to think on that level. Once we expand our scope, when our scope was large, we weren't on that level. We could build those gargantuan statuary and pyramids, and not only in Africa, anywhere you go in the world, you're going to see these great things built by black people. I mean, huge. Huge.
That's right.
They would cut out sides of mountains. They would cut out stuff that was 80 tons. They built statues 80 tons. I mean, I'm trying to imagine 80 tons. How these black people haul out of one piece. They haul 80 tons, 500 miles from somewhere, 600 miles from somewhere else. Why could they do that? The Kemetans were little people by statue, human statue. However, everything they built was huge.
Right.
Why? State of mind. They may have been small in physical stature, but their scope of thinking was vast. Their scope of thinking was godlike, because the Creator thinks on a vast cosmic plane. And it is not serving the Creator to confine our thoughts to just these conditions we live under. And we'll never be able to change these conditions until we learn to think beyond that. And that's one of the things this book is designed to help you do. Let me get on now. Y'all all right? Can you give me a few minutes here?
Yes.
All right. I know you got to get up and go on that plantation tomorrow and everything, and got to travel through the streets and all that to get there and get you a little rest in, and get a little time there to relax and everything before you have to go meet them again. I don't use that term, the man, because if he's the man, what are we? I'm the man.
All right.
That's the boy. You know, let the child control everything for a while. All right, brothers and sisters, I'm going to go into the scriptures here a minute in Ezekiel, the 1st chapter, 26 to the 28th verses. We read a scripture that is not commonly known to most people. Not only is it not commonly known, it's not generally understood what it means, what it's designed to be. And that is because the English, in translating from the ancient tongues, first the Greeks were the first to translate from the ancient African tongues and the Hebrew tongues and all that, Hebrew just being another one of the family of African languages, did not have enough words in their language to have complete translations. Because here was a younger language trying to translate from a much older language. So there's a lot of confusion in their translation. However, if you know your history, if you have the keys to unlock the mystery, you can go in there and put it back in its proper language. And we read, and above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone. I want you to get this picture, and I want you to keep these symbols in mind. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. And as I saw as the color of amber, keep these in mind now, as the appearance of fire round about it, from the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward, I saw, as it were, the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about. As the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice. Now we need to deal with this.
Yes.
We're going to do African-centered exegesis. In the seminary, we like to do an exegesis on the text.
Very good. Yeah.
We're going to do an African-centered exegesis on the text today. Now, Mother Reverend Felder, you know that prophecy, when the prophets write, they use symbolic language. And the reason why they had to use symbolic language many times is because when they were writing in a condition whereby they were being oppressed by another in a foreign land, they couldn't tell the story too plain, or It could get them hurt, get them harmed, get them killed, and they can never get their message to people. Just like we were talking about earlier, we were singing those songs that were code songs on the plantation. And they had to sing them in that language. When they wanted to say freedom, they had to say Jesus in order to keep the master from messing with them. But we know what they meant, and they know what they meant, and how do we know? By the results of what those songs caused. Because as a result of singing those songs, a lot of people got off those plantations. Because they were used as a code language for the folk who were coming to liberate them to stop by there and get them. Same thing was happening here. Ezekiel was in Babylon. He was under the oppression of the Babylonians. One group of black people were oppressing another group of black people. By the time that they came to Ezekiel, it was predominantly Eurasians there, because they had taken the land from the original black people there. I talk about that and explain it and show the transition which took place in this book, African Genesis. The original Babylonians were very black people, kinky-haired people, and they were called Akkadian Babylonians. The Babylonians who invaded the Semitic type, the Eurasian-looking one, the mixed-up ones, the wannabes who came, they were called the Kassite Babylonians. They invaded about 1200 before the Common Era. Now I better stop and explain what I mean before the Common Era. Not everybody in the world is a Christian. Not everybody in the world has to be a Christian to know God. Not everybody has to be that. There are fine Muslim people who are closer to the Creator than many Christian people are. There are Buddhists who are much closer than both of them are, who meditate and get in tune every day. So we can't be arrogant and think what our system of belief is the only way that the Creator talks. But then that means you got control over God. Yes. If you got the only way to it, you're going to tell him you only got one way that people can come to you. And here the Creator has put people all over the planet with different cultural experiences. And our religion comes out of cultural experience. Yes. That's what it does. All people behold and conceive of a Creator in terms of their cultural experience. Yes. Only we conceive of it in terms of somebody else's cultural experience since we've been enslaved here. Right. We conceive of a Eurocentric cultural experience, and we kind of look at some white God or some white Jesus somewhere. That's their cultural experience. It's not our cultural experience. That's right. And think it's sinful for us to view the Creator or see the Creator in our own cultural experience.
That's the truth.
And in our own image.
Now that's the truth.
Head of the Baptists, one time I think it was Johnson, Reverend Johnson was his name, that the one that the king couldn't get along with, was always fighting the king all the time. Right. He stood up in his pulpit before, at the Baptist conference with thousands and thousands of black people in front of him and said it was a sin before God to wear your hair natural in the afro. Now, who gave you the afro in the first place? God. That's right. How did you get it? You understand what I'm saying? So you're going to tell a person it's a sin before God for them to be in the natural state that God called them here in. Then you are accusing the Creator of doing wrong, of making a mistake by making the people black. All right. Y'all with me? All right. Now, Ezekiel had to use some code language there, and as I talked about, it was one group of Africans who were being controlled by Eurasians who were oppressing another group, which was the Hebrews, which I will discuss with you in a minute. If not, you can read my books. Dr. Ben has stated it, Dr. Clark, all of it. It should be clear to anybody by now that has heard anything that these people were not Carlton Heston and Elizabeth Taylor-looking people. They were people that looked like us. Yes. And I'm going to deal with that in a minute. All right. Now, the title of our message today is, You Shall Know the Truth, and the Truth Shall Set You Free. You know, people say it a lot. Assuming, listen to me now. But see, first of all, let me clear something up. The Lord put it on my mind to clear this up. I'm not trying to get a following. I'm not trying to steal anybody's thunder. I'm not coming to beat up on any other black people. I only got energy to build up on my natural enemy. Now, if y'all don't agree with that, you don't have to. It's my natural enemy. I got something to know it's my natural enemy. I got to look out for him. I don't go out of my way to do nothing to him, but I know to protect myself against him. And I know to help us get our minds. So I'm not here to attack anyone's system of belief. I'm simply asking that we get to the point where we do not allow a ceiling to be placed on our mental development consciousness and use our belief in the and blame it on God. And the system as an excuse for doing it. Now that has to stop. As Brother Malcolm says, when your religion doesn't motivate you to change your condition from what it is to what it ought to be, you need to rethink your condition. You need to rethink your condition. And you're blaming God, say the Lord wants me in this condition. And you know good and well that the Creator